My name is Chloe, and today we will be studying Yang Liwei's outer space dream. We will focus on how to condense this story so we are able to retell it in everyday conversation. Let's get going, shall we? During the first lesson, you learned about the tale of Yang Liwei and how he achieved his childhood dream through unrelenting endeavours and struggles, and how he led the way to pilot the Shenzhou 5 space shuttle on China's first manned space flight. This is a very modern story in comparison to many others that we have learned about so far. It tells us all about his studies and obstacles that he needed to overcome to be an astronaut. But what do we really know about Yang Liwei? From the story, do we know anything about his family background? About the journey into space? I think it's always useful to know a little about the person we are to have a conversation about, just in case a friend asks extra questions. Your first task today is to do some quick research into Yang Liwei. I would like you to find some interesting information regarding his family background, training, and also space missions. Please write down at least 5 facts about this man, and when you are ready, press the play button. Let's get researching. Go! Okay, what did you find? I too did some research, and I found some very interesting information. Number 1. Before training to be an astronaut, Yang was actually a first-class pilot in the Chinese Air Force. Number 2. Training in astronautics is distinctly different from training in aeronautics. Even a veteran pilot such as Yang had to start again from the very basics. Number 3. He was one of only 14 chosen from among 1,500 pilot candidates. The team underwent 5 years of rigid physical, psychological and technical training at the astronaut training base in Beijing. Number 4. Since his first journey into space, Yang has collected many awards and commendations, including one from the Nanjing Purple Mountain Observatory, who named an asteroid after him, the Yang Liwei star. Number 5. On his maiden flight in 2003, Yang Liwei recalled an eerie experience when he heard someone knocking at the body of the spaceship, just like the sound of knocking an iron bucket with a wooden hammer. He said it neither came from outside nor inside the spaceship. What a mystery! So there are some interesting facts about Yang, but how will they help us when it comes to using all of this information in a conversation? Well, now we need to turn our attentions to the story in the book. The extra information we have will assist us when starting to put this story into context. So imagine we are talking to a foreign friend and they start to ask us a question such as, which famous person did you want to be like as a child? Or perhaps they might be watching a TV program on space and aircrafts and they could ask, do you think China has what it takes to be at the forefront of the modern space race? These would be perfect questions to be able to use all of your knowledge about Yang Liwei, right? But even if they did set you up with such perfect questions, would you be ready to respond with perfect answers? The story in the book would be too long to memorize, and quite frankly, your friend wouldn't want to know every single detail of Yang Liwei's astronaut training. So what do we need to do? Yes, summarize the story. In this summary, I would like you to answer the points which will appear on the screen in a moment. The summary should be around 350 words in length and should be suitable for a person who is a similar age to you. Take as long as you need. Here are the points for the summary. Hi and welcome back. So you should have a brief summary about Yang Liwei. However, just to help you, I've also written my own. It goes like this. Born on the 21st of June 1965, Yang Liwei is most famous for being China's first man in space. However, this amazing man, who came from a modest family background, didn't initially train for such a prestigious title. Straight after finishing school, Yang began training for the Chinese Air Force and was so skilled in his role that it didn't take him long to climb the ranks. Soon after becoming a first-class pilot in 1998, he was one of only 14 out of 1,500 pilots to be selected as an astronaut candidate. However, training in astronautics is distinctly different from training in aeronautics. Even a veteran pilot such as Yang had to start again from the very basics. In the 5 years that followed, Yang underwent infinite numbers of physical, psychological and intellectual assessments in order to satisfy the requirements of an astronaut. He would find himself studying well into the night, using his magic weapon of invigorating tea leaves to keep himself awake, only to be put through unimaginable physical tests early the next morning. In one interview, he admitted that some days he worried that he could not go on. But he did. His perseverance shone through and his dedication paid off. After graduation, he was chosen to lead the way to pilot the Shenzhou 5 space shuttle on China's first manned spaceflight. Today, astronauts like Yang Liwei continue to inspire the next generation of children who are taught that they should not fear physical or mental challenge, but embrace it and overcome it. But there is still one mystery about Yang Liwei that was never completely solved. On his maiden flight in 2003, Yang Liwei recalled an eerie experience when he heard someone knocking the body of the spaceship just like the sound of knocking an iron bucket with a wooden hammer. He said it neither came from outside nor inside the spaceship. To this day, nobody has ever been able to tell us exactly what that knocking sound was. How spooky. So there you have my version of the shortened story. I also like to think that it leaves my listener with a bit of a cliffhanger. This is a term we use when a story leaves us wanting more. Perhaps it isn't quite concluded or finished, and we are waiting in anticipation for more information. But like always, our first summary might still be a little too long. We need to make it much more condensed if it's to be useful in a general conversation. This is your next challenge. Rewrite your summary, or mine, in just 200 words. When you are finished, try to read it aloud a few times to see if it flows coherently. Okay? Off you go. Okay, let's see what you've written down. Very good. And just to give you an idea, this is my condensed version of Yang Liwei's story. Born in 1965, Yang Liwei is most famous for being China's first man in space. However, this man's first role was in the Chinese Air Force. He was so skilled in his role that soon after becoming a first-class pilot, in 1998, he was selected to be an astronaut candidate. However, astronautics and aeronautics training are incredibly different, and Yang had to start again from the very basics. Yang underwent 5 years of unbelievable physical, psychological and intellectual assessments in order to satisfy the requirements of being an astronaut. Finally, his perseverance and dedication paid off, and he was chosen to lead the way on China's first ever manned spaceflight. Today, astronauts like Yang Liwei continue to inspire the next generation of children who were taught that they should not fear physical or mental challenge, but embrace it. One interesting fact I'd like to leave you with is this. On his maiden flight in 2003, Yang recalled an experience when he heard someone knocking the body of the spaceship just as knocking an iron bucket with a wooden hammer. It neither came from outside nor inside the spaceship. To this day, nobody has ever solved this mystery. What could it have been? Right, so there we have the much shorter version of Yang's story. But what will we do with it now? Well, we are going to use it in a conversation, of course. During our virtual conversation, I'm going to ask you a few questions. In the response, I believe you could use the story of Yang Liwei and other information that you've researched today. In a moment, I will display the questions on the screen. You may take as long as you need to answer these questions, and once you are prepared, you can press the play button again. I'll return as your foreign friend. We are on a school trip together and are visiting an aircraft museum. This is a place which gives us a lot of information about planes, spaceships and other aviation topics. If you see the white screen with the questions in the background, remember that it is suggested that you pause the video and give a more detailed response. Okay, here are the questions. Hi mate, I am so glad you're here. I'll be honest, I'm finding this school trip a bit boring. It's just not my thing. I would love to be sitting in a theatre watching a dance show right now. How about you? One thing I did find quite interesting is that model of a spacecraft over there. I didn't quite realise that aeroscience and astroscience were different. I mean, I don't have a lot of knowledge about planes and things, but I do love the idea of exploring the universe. And I guess you can't explore a galaxy in a flight with China Airways, right? So, which do you find is more interesting? Aeronautics or astronautics? Why? Yes, I think you're right. I also think that China is making real headway in both fields. Their flight technology is advancing so quickly, but so is their ability to explore bases outside of the Earth's atmosphere. At school, we study basic biology, chemistry and physics, but do you think science classes about astronomy and space are important in school? Why? Or why not? I think I would much rather listen to our teacher if they were telling me stories about real people who have experience in these fields, so I can feel motivated and inspired by them. What about you? Have you ever learned about any influential people in the field of astronautics? Tell me about them. I'd be interested to find out more. Yes, I heard about this man. And that spooky experience he had whilst on his maiden voyage. Creepy, right? If you were in a spacecraft and you heard a spooky noise that you couldn't explain, what would you do? What story would you tell when you arrived back on Earth? Very funny. I think I would scare everyone and tell them an unbelievable story about aliens and how when I opened the door, I had to fight them off with my laser gun. But once they were captured, I realised that they came in peace and all they really wanted was to try some traditional Chinese food. So I invited them for dinner and we ate chicken feet and dumplings, which they found delicious. Of course, I would tell everyone the truth. Eventually. Well, I think we need to catch the bus back to school. It's been great talking to you. Thanks for telling me about young Liwei. He sounds inspirational. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.